Good evening, book lovers. Welcome to another episode of Cath-Lit Live. I am your host, Amy Catapan. You can find me everywhere on social media under my pen name, AJ Catapan. I have a return guest for you tonight. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know exactly who my guest is. I was talking about his books just this past weekend, and I'm almost done reading the newest release. We're going to be talking with Anthony Barone Kolenc, or Tony Kolenc as I know him, and his latest release, The Merchant's Curse. So let me tell you a bit about him. If you don't know Anthony Barone Kolenc, who his friends call Tony, is the author of the award-winning teen historical fiction series, The Harwood Mysteries, which has won 8 book awards. Now there's 4 books out so far, so that's an average of 2. And actually, I think those awards are for the first 3 books, because the new book's too new to have won any awards, I think. He is also the host of The Shepherd's Pie, a radio show and podcast, which focuses on issues that impact young people today. He is an author of fiction and nonfiction books and articles, and a columnist for Practical Homeschooling magazine. He retired as a lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Air Force Judge Advocate General's Corps. That's a mouthful. After 21 years of military service, thank you for your service, Tony. He currently teaches at Ave Maria School of Law, and he speaks at writing, legal, and homeschool events. Tony and his family live in Florida. So please help me welcome to the show, Tony Kolenc. Hey, Tony.
Hey, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Welcome back to Cath-Lit Live. I know you were on, we were just talking a moment ago. It was almost 2 years, year and a half so ago.
Seems like a long time ago.
It does, but we're going to talk about your latest book here, okay? So this is The Merchant's Curse, which is book 4 in the Harwood Mysteries series. And I was showing people on Instagram this past weekend, I've been a fan of your books for so long. I have a galley copy from when the first book came out. Loyola Press sent me this copy of Shadow in the Dark because the books had not even been printed yet. And then book 2 was The Haunted Cathedral. Book 3, I remember, came out in the summer of 2021, The Fire of Eden. And ever since then, my niece has been awaiting the release of The Merchant's Curse, and I will let her have this copy after I finish, but I'm not quite done yet.
Okay.
So for those who don't know about it, tell us a bit about The Merchant's Curse.
This is my favorite of the 4 books. The series has been continuing, and in The Merchant's Curse, I'm able to bring in a lot of the elements and characters from the other books, and I kind of feel like, the story is firing on all cylinders. Basically, Zan is in Lincoln with his uncle, and his uncle's business partner appears to be cursed by a witchy woman, and he starts dying. And Zan has to solve the mystery with his friend Christina, who is actually on that cover with Zan. You got to see them. They're like tiny little pictures on the cover there. There they are.
Here they are. Okay.
That's Zan and Christina in the ruins of Lincoln Cathedral, which you'll remember from book 2. And they're trying to figure out, is this like a real witch? Is this a real curse? And there's all this other really cool historical stuff going on in the background with King Henry II and his rebellious sons. It's my favorite of the books.
So let's talk a bit about why parents would want to buy this, or why maybe teachers in the classroom too, which I can talk to. If you want to talk about that specifically as a teacher, I can talk about why teachers might want to use in the classroom, but why would parents or, young people want to read this for themselves? And I've already mentioned my niece is enjoying it. So it's good for both boys and girls.
Absolutely. It's a great series. I just did a webinar literally like yesterday or the day before for Loyola Press on using the series to enrich the curriculum in the classroom. So teachers, I would love if they would use it. But why would you want to buy this series? Well, your kids would want you to buy the series because the stories are very exciting. There's a lot of mystery and adventure. There's definitely a suspenseful kind of almost a creepy vibe to it because it's got this potential witch situation
Especially
going
with
on
this one.
in it.
This one gets a little creepy.
Yes, but yet parents would also want to buy it because the books are all with the Catholic Writers Guild seal of approval. There's nothing objectionable to the faith, and in fact, the stories actually promote really strong family values, promote, vocation. And book 4 in particular is the other reason it's my favorite is because I've sort of modeled the thematic elements on the book of Ecclesiastes from the Old Testament, and the whole theme of vanity of vanities, and how all the different things in this world are vanity to us if we're seeking them apart from God. And Zan and all the other characters sort of learn that throughout the book as each of their vanities sort of becomes unwound.
So, okay, you had mentioned the vanity of vanities as sort of a theme in this newer one. Do you have like a separate theme for each one, or is there any kind of common thematic thread you're carrying through your stories?
Yeah, so the series itself is really, it's a coming of age story for both boys and girls, because you got Zan, Lucy, who in book 4 is still at Harwood Abbey at the nunnery, and Christina, who's in Lincoln with Zan. She's a real firebrand. But it's really a coming of age story about vocation. What does God want me to do with my life? And that theme sort of runs through all the books. It especially hit a crescendo at the end of book 3. But as you know from reading book 4, it's even still in book 4, because even when you make choices in life, you sometimes second guess them. Is this really what God wants me to do? Mm-hmm. And that's sort of what Van is doing. But each book does have its own separate theme. Like book 1 was really about suffering and, why do bad things happen to good people? Book 2 was about forgiveness. Book 3 was dealing with pride versus humility. And now book 4 is really looking at vanity. Yeah, and there's going to be a book 5, by the way. Loyola already has it in their hot little hands and they're editing it. Hopefully it'll be out about a year from now.
Excellent. Will you preview for us what the theme of that one's going to be, or do we have to wait till next year?
Ooh, well, the theme is going to be about envy, and it's going to be a murder mystery, whodunit.
Ooh, I love it. I love a good murder mystery.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay, great. I'm really looking forward to that one now. All right, let's talk about the history behind here, because Loyola Press has put in here for you, I'm assuming this was their idea, how to read historical fiction for those who might not know. And then you've got fun little maps of Zan's world, and that, because this is in the town of Lincoln too, you've got this here. And then in the back, you've got some extra things like a glossary, because this is taking place in, what's the time period again? Where are we at?
So this is 12th century England. We are in the waning years of King Henry II, who starts the Plantagenet dynasty of kings that goes for hundreds of years in England. We're also between the Second and Third Crusade, just a few years, literally like 2 or 3 years, before, in fact, the fall of Jerusalem to Saladin is actually referenced, as you know.
I did get that far, so.
Well, but it's coming up very close in history as we're just a year or two from that, which is going to trigger King Richard the Lionheart and the Third Crusade. So it's set in a really interesting time in history, especially if you're like a social studies teacher or history and trying to teach your kids about the Middle Ages.
Yeah, there's all this historical stuff in the background. And I don't know if you know this, Tony, I can't remember if we talked about this or not. My dissertation was on using historical young adult literature. And that, because of the theme in social studies at the school I was doing the research at, was on immigration and the immigration throughout the ages. And what I learned from the students who were reading historical fiction on immigration, that reading about characters their own age, even if they were from a different culture, different time period, or whatever, was more relatable to them and brought the history to life, so that then when they went back to the social studies class, everything like clicked more because they could picture it.
That is one of the main reasons I wanted a series like this. It wasn't just, it's not fantasy. It has a fantasy vibe to it because it's got that kind of, spooky storylines in each of them, but it's not fantasy. It's historical fiction because I wanted teachers or homeschoolers to be able to use this to enrich their curriculum. And yeah, what you said is exactly right. Kids just, even if it's a 12th century kid, they can relate to this 12th century, kid and the 2 girls, Lucy and Christina, a lot more with the history, seeing it unfold. And you asked me about history. I guess I should also add this other subplot, which you've discovered, I'm sure, as you're reading through. King Henry has some very rebellious sons and one of them is highlighted. And this is all straight out of the pages of history. One of his sons went to England, to France, and is plotting with Philip II in France, and Zan and his friends get sort of, pulled into this potential traitorous situation. So we also have some historical issues going on with, with that in the background, in addition to just bringing all sorts of neat characters. I really enjoyed writing this book, I think more than the other ones, probably.
Well, you're hitting your groove and your stride, that is for sure. So if people want to find out more about you and your books, where can they find out about you?
Of course, you could go to my website, anthonykolenc.com, but I would also encourage you to go to Loyola Press. Not only do they have the ability to buy the books there, but they have free curriculum materials that you can use to enrich your classroom or home with the books that are available, games, study guides, all sorts of stuff that they put together, which is really good. And also, if you go to my website, if you are a teacher or even have a homeschool group and you'd like me to come talk to you about writing or about the Middle Ages or about the Crusades or whatever, I like to do classroom visits, just like I know you do, Amy. And so you can also fill out a speaker request form on my website, and I'll be glad to appear by Zoom, or if I'm close enough, come and talk to your students.
Absolutely. Another thing I think a lot of teachers don't know, especially like in the Catholic schools, which is where a lot of our books are marketed, is that you can often get bulk discounts on the books if you're going right through the publisher. I'm sure Loyola Press would work a deal with a Catholic school or a large homeschooling group that's going to buy in some amount of bulk. I know for my books from Ave Maria Press, if you buy 5 or more, they'll give you a discount. It doesn't even have to be a huge amount. Yeah,
I'm working with Loyola on that right now, and they are offering discounts to the schools where I come in and do a classroom visit specifically for that purpose. I should also mention an organization you and I are both in, CatholicTeenBooks.com, is a great place for parents to go. You can get Amy's books there, actually, and you can get a lot of great authors' books there. If you like these kinds of books to bring to your kids in, especially middle school and high school. So it's great.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we have so much that we can offer to the homeschooling parents and to the Catholic schools out there. It's a matter of getting the word out to them, because a lot of them think we're not out there, and it's like, no, we are. You just haven't found us yet.
And I guess, since you said that, let me also say, if you're at the school, don't do a Scholastic book fair. Go to like Good News Book Fair or Christian Book Fair. There are actual book fairs out there where they can bring really great books to your school, especially if you go to a religious school. You don't need to resort to a secular, book fair for that. And I know my books are in those, and I'm pretty sure your Seven Riddles to Nowhere.
Seven Riddles to Nowhere. Yeah, that one's, and I know in Good News Book Fair, they're not in all parts of the country though. I don't think. I know they're big in Florida because they're based in Florida, and I'm not sure how far they spread out through the country, but people go check them out and see.
And Christian Book Fair is the other one. They Tiffany Fisher runs that, and they hit other parts of the country. So check them out and get Amy's book too.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, just buy all of our books. And you know what? We're hitting at a very similar age group, because your main character is now, he's 13 here. What is he, 11 in the first book?
He starts, him and Lucy are both 11. Christine is actually a year older than him.
Yeah.
So she's 14 here.
Okay. Yeah, and the main characters in Seven Riddles to Nowhere are 13. So very much we're hitting the same age group. So, we hopefully on Amazon, it'll soon be like people who bought this also bought that, right?
Oh, it's already there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There.
They should all be together there. They're all middle grade, perfect age group mysteries. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Tony. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being on, and it's good talking to you.
All right. Well, we'll wave goodbye to Tony. I'm sure we'll see him again. So yes, go check out Tony's books. Hey, if you're looking for a Christmas gift for a reader in your life, this summer, this Christmas, all 4 books are available, so you can go ahead and order them, and they would make a really nice gift set this summer. And again, if you're a teacher, there are options out there for you, and you don't have to pay full price. Catholic school teachers, I know ways. Reach out to me if you need help with that. Until meantime, I'm just going to wish you all happy reading.